less than a year after assuming office in June last year as the Provincial Education Department Superintendent-General, Dr. Naledi Mbude has been suspended by the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane. And the suspension is said to be in relation to the department's failure to deliver books as well as the return of infrastructure money to the National Treasury. In March, the department was ordered by the court to deliver all outstanding learning material to schools before the 31st of March. So as we learned yesterday, that deadline was not met. The province has also been criticized for returning an unspent sum of 200 million rand allocated for infrastructure development to Treasury. Eastern Cape Basic Education Spokesperson Malibongwe Mtima joins us now for a conversation on this. Mr. Mtima, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
So let's just start with an update with regard to meeting that court deadline, or let me rephrase that. You can't meet it. You've already missed it. But how far is the department from delivering the textbooks and stationery that is still outstanding? And what were the reasons for not supplying all of it on time as per the court order?
Look, by now, we have delivered 99.4% of the books to the schools. Of the 70 schools that we were supposed to deliver to them yesterday, we left with about 40 of them, because it's because of the fact that some of the places are far-flung, but we are trying by all means to ensure that by the end of the business day today, all those books are delivered to those 40 schools.
Mr. Mtima, I think you'd appreciate that saying that these schools are far-flung is not a valid excuse. But in terms of the schools that are still awaiting the delivery of materials, where exactly are these 40 schools located?
These schools are located across the province, in all these 12 districts, because you'll have one school maybe in Sarapatman, and one school in Nelson Mandela, and another school in OR Tambo. So all of them in total, they are about 40. And we are delivering to them today to ensure that by the end of the business day, all our learners have their material. You should know that this is a top-up, because normally, in fact, 98% of the textbooks that are in school, we have been able to retain them over 5 years, meaning that every learner whom we give a book, at the end of the day, in fact, in 10 learners, 8 of the learners are returning their books after they finish a class or a grade, so that others can also utilize it. So we're topping up from that 98% that we have managed to retain from the consignment that is in the schools.
So, Mr. Mtima, we know that the Premier has suspended the Superintendent-General in the department, who has been in the position for less than a year. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think she was appointed in June last year as the Department Superintendent-General. So what were the reasons for the suspension?
Unfortunately, the Office of the Premier is the one who can allude on that. We are not at liberty to speak on that because of the protocols of the department.
So were the department not furnished with the reasons for the suspension?
Yes, yesterday the MEC met with all the stakeholders, in fact, internal stakeholders, to inform them of the issues that happened. But unfortunately, due to government protocols, the Office of the Premier is the one that's supposed to elude more on the matters.
So if the Superintendent-General has been in the position for less than a year, and looking at how this particular situation developed, without necessarily getting into details or speaking on behalf of the Office of the Premier, what happened in the department that necessitated her suspension as the HOD?
Look, like I say, I don't want to venture into that, except for the fact that yesterday the MEC informed us that there were there was a process that is being followed, and he raised the issues, and of course, when he was addressing the staff with the Office of the Premier, he was also able to provide us with a person who's going to take over, Mr. Mashubandile Kwase, whom we hope will start today at the department to ensure that service delivery to the people is not compromised.
And again, I'm just struggling because I'm not asking you, Ms. Mtima, to speak on behalf of the Premier's office. All I'm asking for is the reasons that you were furnished as the Department of Education for the suspension of one of your heads of department. Dr. Mbude, by the way, told the education meeting of the Portfolio Committee on Monday that the department has been engaging in illegal conduct by, as she says, they were making manual payments and offset them from the following year's budget on an accrual. So that, of course, is in direct contravention of what the PFMA Act states. Are you able to give us any further clarity on that?
Unfortunately, I will not be able. I will not be able to delve because remember, I'm trying to, by all means, to observe the protocols. I do not want to venture into a space where, at the end of the day, I may find myself against the law. So I'm trying, by all means, to ensure to speak on only those that relate to the department.
My difficulty with that response, Mr. Mtima, my difficulty with that response is that if you said to me, Sakina, I don't know the details of that, I probably would be more amenable to accepting that response. But to say that I don't want to get into the details of that, I mean, we're talking about a public office here. The public has the right to know. The people in the Eastern Cape whose children in the second term of the academic year are still awaiting the delivery of learner support material have the right to know, Mr. Mtima. So all I'm asking, and this has nothing to do with the Premier's office, this was something that was related to the Portfolio Committee in the legislature. So I'm asking you as an official in the Department of Education, what do you know about the allegations or the representations that were made by Dr. Mbude during that sitting?
Look, like I said initially, Sakin, I'm not at liberty to delve more on this because of organizational protocols. I'm aware that when the MEC addressed the officials, stated three things. One of them was the LTSM, one of them was the issue of the return of the infrastructure grant, and another one. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty, like I said, to delve more because of the organizational protocols.
So as a spokesperson, what can you and what can't you tell us, Mr. Mtima? Let's maybe establish that baseline and then I would know where to go with it.
Look, again, on this one, like I said, the Office of the Premier has been tasked to deal with this, the issue of the suspension of the HOD and other related matters to that. So,
but I'm not asking you now about the suspension. I've moved on. I'm now asking you about operational matters within the department.
Yes. So, are you not able to speak on that either? Can you say that again, please?
I'm now asking you about operational matters within the department. I'm asking you about issues already in the public domain, because this has already been brought to the fore by Dr. Mbude during that sitting at the legislature. So one of the other things that Dr. Mbude had stated, or started rather, was an audit process where the electronic finance management system, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in how I'm understanding this. So Dr. Mbude started an audit where the electronic finance management system will actually show exactly how much was spent on what and whether what was paid for correspondence, or rather what was paid for by the department actually corresponds with what is happening on the ground. Can you confirm that that in fact happened?
Look, the issues that you are dealing with now, Sakina, are part of what the investigation is all about. That is why I've been saying to you, I am unable, because only the Office of the Premier that is supposed to talk to issues related to the investigation. The presentation that was made by the head of department is part of what will be forming part of the investigation. And as such, I'm not at liberty to delve in, because the responses that were given by the head of department are part of what the Office of the Premier will be engaging on terms of reference. Hence, I was saying we have agreed that the Office of Premier can attend to these things, and they are still, they are available at my wing. Should you need to talk to them and delve more, because I do not want to talk to any aspects of the matter that is under investigation.
But I'm not asking you for grand detail, Mr. Mtima. I'm simply asking you in my last question to you, if you are able to confirm that Dr. Mbude had in fact started an audit process. That was the question. So the answer to that is yes. That's what I was asking you. Now let me ask you a follow-up question to that, Mr. Mtima. What were the outcomes of that audit on infrastructure projects when the report came out? Or as is the report out?
No, the report is not out yet. The audit is taking place of the infrastructure. So we finished with Amatole and Buffalo City. We are just continuing to ensure that by the end of April, we are done with the audit, so that it can form part of the audit will inform the register, the asset register of the department. But like I said, despite the fact that the audit has started, surely by the end of the month we'll be able to pronounce on what will be happening. But the details of issues that relate to this suspension, I don't want to delve much and then find myself at the end of the day having crossed the line. So
I guess there's nothing I can do, because if you're not going to tell me, Mr. Mtima, you're not going to tell me. But according to audits, moving on to something else, the Eastern Cape province has the highest number of pit latrines at 1,598. Are you able to verify that number? And also, what is the plan with regard to this, given that, again, the department has returned money to the fiscus rather than spend it on fixing things like pit latrines?
Look, we had about 1,150-something schools that were identified for the SAFE program with the sanitation appropriate for education. And as such, at least half of those have been done, and we've got about 400 and something that are at tender phase, while others are being finalized. I'm sure we've finalized more than 400 plus of those. It's just that the numbers are not in my fingers now. But amongst the challenges that has led to us not being able to be quicker on that is because a majority of the municipalities are not having appropriate or necessary waters, and as such, since the department has to connect or to plug and play on already existing pipes, so we do not have our own sources of water. In fact, in most cases, we rely. Say that again.
No, I was actually listening, Mr. Mtima. I was not saying anything, so I did not want to interrupt you there. So may you please complete your thought.
Someone spoke about 3 minutes. That's why I stopped. Well, I was saying, Sakina, amongst other things that as the department we have done to ensure that we are able to meet our deadline and also at least harvest from the presidential SAFE program. We are also venturing into boreholes where our schools will have their own sources of water, so that at the end of the day we are able to supply those ablution facilities that are available.
So perhaps just in terms of that, how many pit latrines were eradicated by the end of this financial year that we've just come out of, and how many are you targeting for the 2022-2023 financial year, Mr. Mtima?
If you can give me just a second, I'll be in a position to give you the specific numbers. I'm trying to verify my numbers, Sakina.
Okay, but just in terms of that particular matter, Mr. Mtima, the target dates set by the national government to actually do away with all the pit latrines in provinces has all but passed. The reasons, other than saying that in some instances it's the municipalities, as far as the schools are concerned, what are some of the other reasons why you failed to meet that deadline?
the numbers that we're looking for, 424 schools have been completed to date, 277 are under construction, and the balance is still, like I said, is still in the planning phase. Can you please repeat your last question?
I was just asking, just in terms of a more comprehensive response to why the department failed to meet a deadline set by the National Department of Education.
Look, like I said, amongst the issues that are critical is that the department does not have its own source of water. Therefore, we're relying on the municipalities, which are currently facing a problem when it comes to water. Number one. Number two, we've opted to take the way. I mean, we've opted to take this option of going to boreholes to ensure that all our schools that are having either septic tanks or something like that are able to sustain themselves. Because currently in the province, a majority of our municipalities are struggling to provide water.
Mr. Mtima, we'll leave it there for today. Thanks so much for your time. Eastern Cape Department of Education spokesperson, Mr. Malibongwe Mtima, speaking to us about some of the latest developments here regarding an update with the number of schools that are still awaiting learner support materials. We spoke about 70 yesterday. He's telling us this morning that it's down to about 40. So we'll continue to track this particular story for you.